morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Monday, September 9th, 2024. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Happy Monday, everyone. Here's a look at the ES in the daily time frame here. A bit of strength in overnight and pre-market trading heading into the RTH Open. Price bouncing back on a bit of a fade after trend day. Friday's trend day down, a little bit of a fade back toward the previous session's midpoint there. Hitting the previous session's midpoint and bouncing off. Bit of a double top here in pre-market trading. This is a pretty strong move here heading into the RTH Open. That midpoint is going to be the level to continue to watch here for RTH trading. Through 63.25 starts to open up a bit more strength into 5,500. If price cannot find acceptance beyond 63.25 here, you start to rotate back down and continue to hold within that overnight range, 5,400 to 65 basically. This market right now is on a little bit of a bounce back, but could be mostly range bound Monday and Tuesday with light economic data on Wednesday and Thursday. Big time inflation data, CPI on Wednesday, PPI on Thursday. So this market could be mostly in a holding pattern here for the first couple of days of the week with a downward bias. As we noted before, this range right here was indicative of a likely forthcoming expansion phase. We got the downside break here and saw a downside continuation. We were looking for a move into 5,400 and got it. And now, again, any failure at 5,400 and you're opening up more weakness, that could take you back toward 5,240 and perhaps even lower. The other key level we mentioned was 5,360 here. 5,360 is the midpoint of this key range. Ever since it gave up the top end of the key range at 5,600 here, the indication was that it would likely come back to the midpoint of that level right there. So still downward trending in the near term, and bears looking to defend into strength for another rotation down. 5,360 and 5,240 could be next over the course of the week, depending on how inflation data is received Wednesday and Thursday. Looking at the NQ here, NQ also up in pre-market, overnight and pre-market trading. This one coming just shy of the previous session's midpoint. Previous session's mid is 656. Today's high is 645, so just about 11 points shy of the previous session's midpoint. That's going to be the key level to watch early on. If price can find acceptance through that mid, you open up a bit more strength. But right now, given the downtrend, bears want to defend into morning strength, maybe push this thing back toward lows, keep things mostly compressed and range bound with a downward bias as the market awaits inflation data Wednesday and Thursday. This market has already reached a couple of our key targets. The first one was the previous month's midpoint, and also the key range midpoint, 18,534. That's the key range mid after it gave up the high at 19,717. Now a failure in this zone here, and you're opening up a retest of those big time lows back toward the 7,350. So big time potential continuation downward. And again, keep an eye on the previous session's midpoint for intraday purposes. If we take a look here at crude oil, crude right now up about 1%. This one has been heavily bearish here overall, though. Big time weakness here. Again, we talked about it giving up the 72 key level, gave up the previous year's close price, and is now working its way downward. It did also reach the previous session's midpoint, seeing a little bit of a reaction of prices above that level right now, still downward trending. We could be looking at a further downside continuation ahead, but this is a key zone right here. This is a very, very important zone of support right now. And again, the market's going to keep a close eye on this level. That is your key range low right there. And we're seeing a test of it here at the moment. 67.72 is your key range low from last December. That's a Q4 low. Prices have never tested that level until Friday's market. That green arrow right here, that tells you that price is testing the third standard deviation below VWAP on a year-to-date basis. So this is yearly VWAP way up here at 78. That is composite VPOC at 78, and we are 3 standard deviations below those value metrics right now. That's very, very bearish here, but that can also suggest that this thing is significantly undervalued, and if price can find a way to hold this zone, there could be some sort of a relief rally back up the range. A failure here at 67.72, and you're opening up the 100% extension here from the near-term key range that developed here. That's your 64 level. Previous year's low is just shy of 64s. That's your next major downside target if this market cannot hold 67.72. Looking at gold futures right now, gold futures up about 1/3 of 1% right now. This one continues to maintain an upward trending price structure, but is also stuck within range at the moment. This is about a 2 to 3 week trading range that is developed at these highs. Looking a little heavy up here for the most part, but continues to honor the uptrending price structure, continues to honor the higher value relationship. We did get a push into prices above 25.60, but didn't quite extend to 2600 just yet. Instead, still building some energy here, and the expectation is still for a continuation toward 2600 up ahead. Any pullback, even a deeper pullback, say into 2480, could still be defended for a continuation toward 2600 up above. Looking at the YM right now showing a decent bounce back in overnight and pre-market trading, perhaps the most aggressive of the major market indexes. This one also tested prices at and beyond the previous session's midpoint of 40,672. Big time fade after trend day here from that perspective. If we gain a little bit more momentum, a little bit more strength ahead of the RTH Open, we could be looking at some bullish MGR signals, midpoint gap reversal signals, and that could be an indication of further strength today. That midpoint is going to be very important from an intraday perspective today. If bulls cannot find acceptance above that zone, we may begin to see a little bit of a tail develop at the upper end of the day's range. Very similar to what we saw early last week here on a Wednesday after Tuesday's selling pressure, similar to Friday's. We got a bounce back toward the mid, could not find acceptance beyond the mid, developed a tail. We could be looking at a similar circumstance develop here today if prices cannot find acceptance beyond that 672 midpoint. Looking at Bitcoin up right now 3%. A pretty strong bounce back here after a heavy selling pressure the last couple of weeks, especially on Friday. These are the lowest closing lows that we saw Friday in a long time, 52,980. We've gotten down there before. It's just, and lower, but we've bounced every single time. This was a closing low that we haven't seen since February, before the major breakout. Every other time we've dropped into these lows or lower, we've seen a furious bounce back. Right now, we've seen a gap up Sunday evening. We're holding that gap above the previous session's midpoint. If you're looking at Bitcoin ETFs, then we could be looking at some bullish MGR signals right out of the gate. That could be bullish as late participants are trapped, late sellers trapped, and that could lead to a little bit of a bounce here. Again, this market has been very heavy, so any bounce could still be seen as a selling opportunity until proven otherwise. Looking at ETH, very similar strength here for ETH, up 3.8% right now. Again, the lowest closing low on Friday that we've seen in a long time, 2170 was that closing low. And that appears to be the lowest closing price of the year. The lowest closing price of the year for ETH. And here we are bouncing back again Sunday evening, taking a gap up on those futures. And I just accidentally moved my my key range there. But bit of a gap up, a push through the previous session's midpoint of 22.95s. That could provide a nice trap and rally, especially if it can hold this into the RTH Open, but we're still in a very heavy downward trending bias right now. 8-period average continues to serve as resistance. We'll see if price can hold above the midpoint. All right, that is it for now. We'll see how this develops here heading into the rest of the week. Big inflation data Wednesday and Thursday. The market will be building toward that announcement. All right, that's it for now. We'll see how this develops the rest of the time. Good luck. Trade well. I'll see you in the trading room. Take care.